Imagine an alternative universe where the bond between Luke and Leia goes beyond the blood connection. What if, instead of just being siblings, they were a Dyad of the Force? This concept, introduced in The Rise of Skywalker, presents two people so connected by the Force that they are able to share abilities, thoughts, and even feelings in an almost supernatural way. Now, think of the implications of this if applied to the children of Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, whose connection to the Force was already immeasurable. What would change in their trajectory? And, more importantly, how might this reflect on the way we understand the Force in our daily lives? The dyad of the Force between Luke and Leia can be understood in a similar way to the concept of yin and yang, where two apparently opposing forces complement each other to form a harmonious whole. In their case, Luke would represent the yang, the active, impulsive, and action-oriented energy, while Leia would take on the role of the yin, symbolizing the passive, introspective energy and focused on diplomacy and emotional control. Together, they would balance these aspects, becoming more powerful than if they were acting in isolation. This balance between action and reflection, aggression and compassion, defines the nature of the dyad, where harmony becomes the key to their true power. When Luke and Leia were born, instead of being separated to avoid detection by the Emperor and Vader, they were both raised together by Bail Organa and his wife on Alderaan. From an early age, the two demonstrated an unusual connection, able to sense what the other was thinking and predicting each other's movements. Their adoptive parents, sensing this special bond, tried to teach them the values of peace and justice without suppressing their gifts. They were different from the start, connected by an invisible and powerful force. At a young age, Luke and Leia began to manifest unusual abilities, such as moving small objects without touching them and sensing the emotions of the people around them. Bail Organa, fearing the Empire's interest, kept these events a secret, but began searching ancient Jedi records to understand more about what her adopted children could mean for the galaxy. These early manifestations indicated something greater than a family connection. They indicated the presence of a rare and deep connection with the Force. Just as yin and yang are interconnected and cannot fully exist without each other, Luke and Leia, being a dyad, would also need each other to reach their full potential. Luke's active energy often pushed him to act impulsively, especially in battle, but with Leia by his side, this energy was balanced with calm and strategy. On the other hand, Leia, although more centered and controlled, could benefit from Luke's brute force at critical moments. This constant flow of energy exchange between them would create a cycle of mutual improvement, where the weaknesses of one were constantly balanced by the strengths of the other. In their 20s, the dyad connection between Luke and Leia began to intensify in unexpected ways. When Leia became involved in the Rebel Alliance, Luke, who still lived on Alderaan, felt an irresistible urge to join her. Together, they set off on missions for the Alliance, where they quickly stood out for their ability to anticipate enemy attacks and coordinate strategies as if they were of one mind. This close collaboration between them was perceived by the other rebels as an extraordinary ability, but the truth was much deeper. In the context of the Force, this yin and yang dynamic also manifests itself in the way they interact with the light and dark sides. While Luke often faced internal challenges, fighting the temptations of the dark side, Leia represented constant balance, keeping her principles and emotions in harmony. In the philosophy of yin and yang, each part contains a small essence of the other, and so it is with the dyad. Leia can have moments of intense strength, and Luke, moments of deep reflection and inner peace. This exchange of energies would allow them to navigate the extremes of the Force while maintaining the balance that defines the true nature of the Jedi. In The Empire Strikes Back, Luke, hanging after his confrontation with Vader, reaches out to Leia mentally in a silent plea for help. Without hesitation, she answers the call. Here, we see the first hint that they share something beyond the traditional sisterly relationship. But what if this connection was more than that? What if, instead of simple intuitions, they could literally feel what the other feels, as we saw between Rey and Kylo Ren? However, deity is not just about power. It requires balance. A dyad, by definition, is not complete if one of the sides goes to one extreme. This brings us to an important reflection: their emotional journey. Luke has experienced moments of doubt and fear, while Leia has always been more firm and balanced. If they were a dyad, the weaknesses of one could be offset by the strength of the other. Think of how Luke faced his greatest challenges, the fear of repeating his father's mistakes, the temptation to give in to the dark side. With Leia by his side in such a profound way, he could have found even greater emotional support, and perhaps his decisions would have been more balanced, less impulsive. When they were captured by the Empire, Dyad led Luke and Leia straight to the path of Obi-Wan Kenobi, who was hiding on Tatooine. Kenobi immediately recognized the pair's potential and began training them as Jedi. Instead of focusing exclusively on Luke, as in the original timeline, Obi-Wan realized that uniting the two brothers as a dyad was the key to defeating the Empire. So he began training them both. Obi-Wan, who had already witnessed the dangers of Anakin's solitary journey, saw in Luke and Leia's connection a unique opportunity to restore balance to the Force. If Luke and Leia had been a Force dyad, their paths would probably have taken different turns early on. Luke, for example, could have shared with Leia the wisdom he learned during his training with Yoda and Obi-Wan. Instead of taking the political route, Leia could have embraced the Force more fully, becoming a powerful Jedi from a young age. The union of their skills and knowledge would have created a unique dynamic, empowering them both. The dyad is a connection that amplifies each party's individual strength, which means that Luke wouldn't have been just a Jedi Master and Leia not just a rebel leader. Together, they would have become a perfect balance, representing light and hope for the galaxy. Obi-Wan directed them to seek out Yoda on Dagobah. During their training, Yoda realized that Luke and Leia, as a dyad, could share learning in an unprecedented way. While Luke mastered the skills of combat and strategy, Leia excelled in meditation and emotional control. The balance between them accelerated their progress, enabling them to overcome obstacles more efficiently than any Jedi before them. This synergy between the two prevented mistakes that one could make alone, bringing a new level of balance to their training. However, the deity is not just about power. It requires balance. A deity, by definition, is not complete if one of the sides goes to one extreme. This brings us to an important reflection: their emotional journey. Luke has experienced moments of doubt and fear, while Leia has always been more firm and balanced. If they were a dyad, the weaknesses of one could be offset by the strength of the other. Think of how Luke faced his greatest challenges, the fear of repeating his father's mistakes, the temptation to give in to the dark side. With Leia by his side in such a profound way, he could have found even greater emotional support, and perhaps his decisions would have been more balanced, less impulsive. When they finally confronted Darth Vader in Cloud City, the strength of his dyad made it difficult for Vader to fight them both simultaneously. It was at that moment that Vader, sensing the deep bond between the two, revealed the truth. They were his children. Although the shock was immense, the connection between Luke and Leia helped them process this revelation and avoid the emotional breakdown Luke would face in the original timeline. United, they decided to confront their destiny with courage and clarity, without succumbing to hatred. Another fascinating aspect of a dyad is the ability to heal and transfer energy. We saw Rey save Kylo Ren in battle by transferring some of her own life energy to heal him. Imagine how useful this would be for Luke and Leia. In critical situations, they could save each other, avoiding the tragedies that have marked the Skywalkers. Moments like the loss of Han Solo could have been avoided if Luke had been more present, feeling more intensely what his sister was going through at that moment. They could have worked together to face the most difficult challenges, such as Ben Solo's fall to the dark side. In the final duel against Emperor Palpatine, Luke and Leia fought together, sharing the power of the Force equally. The Emperor, unable to manipulate their emotions or separate them as he did with Anakin, was defeated when the siblings' union channeled a wave of uncontrollable power. At the end of the battle, the two emerged victorious, balancing light and darkness, restoring peace to the galaxy. The concept of yin and yang implies that conflict is not necessarily destructive, but part of the natural cycle of growth and evolution. By facing challenges together, Luke and Leia would grow not only in power, but in wisdom. Each obstacle or internal conflict would serve as a learning opportunity and further strengthen their bond. The dyad, like yin and yang, represents the fundamental duality of the universe, where light and dark coexist, and it is in this balance that true power is found. Remembering that if you want to delve deeper into your connection with the Force, In the pinned comment of this video, there is a step-by-step guide to starting from scratch and reaching a deep state of meditation. May the Force be with you.